Okay, so welcome back to the second video where we are going to learn about the international financial market, which I think is also a very important and interesting concept that we need to clarify. So to explain this second concept, I will try to be a little bit more interesting by telling you a story. I tend to tell stories when I try to explain concepts. So let me know, you can send me an email or message or whatever if you like this kind of stories and I can continue doing this. But so for this, I think I can give you a good illustration of the international financial market by telling you a story. And sometimes the stories are real, but in this case, it's a fictional story based on on real things. So the first thing that I want to tell you is that in this story is that imagine that in this story we have Tony Stark, who is a hero and businessman, superhero and businessman. So he wants to start a new project, but in the UK because he's based in the US, right? Like he lives in the US, but he wants to start a new project in the UK, and he need a lot. He needs a lot of British pounds. So he needs 10 million British pounds to start his new project. So where do you think that he will call, or who will he contact to get the 10 million British pounds? And this is a first interesting question. Where do you think he will go? With his local bank or the British bank or in the central bank of the US or the central bank of the UK? Where do you think he will go? Well, the answer is that he needs to contact his local private bank. So he will contact this guy who is the CEO of Bank of America. And what do you think he will say? It is possible that 10 million pounds is a lot of money. So it's possible that they don't have it in the pocket. They need to get it from somewhere else. So it's possible that he will say, okay, I need 10 minutes. I will give you the money, but give me 10 minutes. So where do you think that this guy will go? If he needs to borrow 10 million pounds to give that money to Tony Stark. But who will he contact? Again, an interesting question. Will he contact the central bank of the US, or will he contact central bank of the UK, or the private bank in the UK? Well, the answer is that he needs to contact a private bank in the UK. Central banks don't uh, um, don't work in this example. I will tell you later what central banks do. So we'll contact this other guy who is the CEO of Barclays in the UK. And he will say, yes, I can give you 10 million pounds, but I will charge you a fee. Okay, so this is an interest rate. Maybe you know what an interest rate is, or you have heard about the term interest rate, or maybe you are an expert on interest rates because you're studying finance or accounting. But if this is an interest rate, it's like a fee that this guy needs to pay. So the end of story should be like this guy goes back with Tony Stark, and probably he will charge more because he needs to make some profit, right? So he will charge maybe 1% or 2% so he can get some profit. And in the end, the the British bank sent the money to the private bank in the US, and the private bank sent it to the client. So now I will show you how does the financial market looks like. So in the example, I think that we were in here private debt between Tony Stark and the market in the US. So Tony Stark wanted to get a loan in British pounds, and this bank, the private bank in the US, didn't have the money, so he had to contact the British bank. So in this part, the core of the market, this part in here, it's called the primary market. It's called the market that it's in between banks. We also call it interbank market because it's only between banks. So banks, private banks, are the ones that move the money around the world. Maybe this is the first thing that can be interesting for you. If you thought before that central banks were the ones moving the money, that is not what happens, at least in Western economies and normal economies, I would say, because North Korea, for example, they don't work like this, but they are an exemption to the rule. So in normal countries, and with normal I mean almost 98% of the countries work like this. Private banks, sorry, are the ones that move the money between them. If they need pesos or dollars or wherever, it's between private banks. And then outside of the primary market, we have the secondary market, or we also call it retail market. We are going to talk about this, I think, by the end of the partial, when we analyze deeper and more profoundly the participants in the markets and the transactions that can occur, things like that. But who participates in the secondary market or retail market? Almost everyone, or almost everyone who is not a private bank. That means you and me, or the government, or central banks, or firms, or equity funds, or everyone who needs a foreign exchange currency will be um, in here in the secondary market. If you need money for holidays, you will be somewhere in the secondary market. If you start a company and you need dollars to buy raw materials, you will be somewhere in there in the secondary market. So with this, I think I will finish this second video, and then we'll move to the third concept.